Tes.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Good afternoon, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, and all of participants of today's guest lecture, and all of participants online Zoom meeting.
Let us express our gratitude to Almighty God, for it is by His grace that we are created here today for this guest lecture with the theme Sharpening Skill for Academic and Writing Tips to Turn the Reputable International Journal. My name is Genever Zito and my partner is...
I'm Mario Marquez Fernandez, and we are honored to be your MC for today's event.
This event is a collaboration between the Warwick University, United Kingdom, and University Persada of Indonesia, Y.A.I.
Before we begin, I kindly invite everyone to stand for the Indonesian national anthem, Indonesian Raya. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Now I would like to invite Director of University of Persada Indonesia, Prof. Insinyur Sri Astuti Indriati, MS, PhD, represented by Director of International Office, University of Persada Indonesia, Y.A.I, Dr. Khoirul Anwar, AK, MBA, Mafis, to deliver the opening remarks.
All right. How are you today? Excellent. Answer excellent when I ask how are you today, okay? How are you today, my students? Excellent. Yeah, that's great. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Buenos tardes, Mr. Reyes. Yeah. Mr. Reyes actually from Mexico and then used to be studying in San Diego. We are close by already. And then I went to Mexico City and then the city is like a Jakarta. Yeah, it's very crowded over there. Yeah, traffic. And over there like any busway like this, yeah, in the Mexico City. Wow. Well, actually, the worldwide is not wide, actually. Actually, we are pretty close. That Mr. Reyes really like it. Yeah, you know, even he's from Mexico and then go to UK and then right now in Jakarta. So this Mr. Reyes would like to meet everybody all over the world. Okay. Thank you. And today we are a blessing by God that we will do some seminar or lecturing regarding sharpening skill for academic and writing tips to turn to the reputable international journals. Well, right now we have to introduce ourselves internationally by doing writing. So we have to be confident enough in expressing our research, in expressing our idea through the journal. So this way, today, this event is very, very important for us, for the student, for the candidate doctor, for the faculty and academician especially. This is very, very important. So this way, we are really appreciated for Mr. Reyes, who are willing enough to spend his time to come over to Persada University. Give applause to Mr. Reyes. All right. On behalf of Ibu Rektor, I would like to give a greeting to you all that good luck following the seminar for today, and hopefully today we will get very, very important learning, and after this we have to follow up our idea through the journal. Should you have any question later on, you can directly give a question to Mr. Reyes. Thank you very much, and God bless you all. Gracias.
Thank you, Dr. Khoirul Anwar, aka MBA, Mafis, for the inspiring opening remarks. Well, I kindly remind on stage for the photo with the Director of International Office. session.
Okay, can everyone come? Everyone can stand up. We can take picture together. Okay. One, two, three. Okay, thank you so much for your participation in this photo session. Uh, at this time, we will proceed with the presentation of mementos to our distinguished speaker. We kindly invite Association Professor Structural Engineering.
Next, we invite the Director of International Office of University of Persada Indonesia, Y.A.I, Dr. Koirul Anwar, MBA, Mafis, to come forward to the present of momentous to our esteemed speaker.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Director International. And next certificate for Mr. Reyes Gracia. Prof. Krishna, sorry. Okay. Okay, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, we now invite our distinguished speaker, Professor Krishna S. Pribadi, Dr. Reis Gracia, lecturer in Warwick University, United Kingdom, to please come up to the stage and take your seat for upcoming presentation.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's now to proceed with the next session, where we will invite the pleasure of hearing from our moderator. Our moderator speaker today is Prof. Krishna S. Pribadi, a renowned expert in civil engineering with distinguished career spanning several decades. Prof. Krishna previously served as a faculty member at the prestigious Bandung Institute of Technology, or ITB, where he made remarkable contribution to the field of infrastructure development, and his expertise in structural engineering, project management, and sustainable development, and he has made him a key figure in shaping modern civil engineering in Indonesia. Currently, Prof. Krishna continues his expansional academic journey at University of Persada Indonesia, Y.A.I, where he remains dedicated to educating and inspiring the next generation for engineering. With extensive experience in both academic research and practical projects, his influence extends beyond the classroom, impacting numerous high-profile infrastructure projects and both in national and international. It is our honor to have him with us as a moderator today. Please join me to welcome Prof. Krishna S. Pribadi.
Okay. Distinguished guests, Dean of the Faculty of Engineering, Universitas Persada Indonesia Y.A.I, Director of Bapak Hairul Anwar, Director of the International Cooperation, Dr. Dean of the Faculty of Psychology, sorry I forgot your name, yeah. And Pak Suarso, Director of the Research and Community Service, and also all our lecturer, faculty, staff at the University of Persada Indonesia, and of course our beloved students, very excellent students here we have, yeah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera semuanya. Salam sehat. Salam kebajikan. First of all, of course, with the blessing of God, we are permitted to sit here together to listen and to discuss with Dr. Reyes Garcia, our particular guest lecturer who come from far away from Warwick University in Warwick, United Kingdom. So I would like to introduce Dr. Reyes Garcia first. Dr. Reyes Garcia is an associate professor in structural engineering, built environment and sustainability research cluster in the School of Engineering at University of Warwick, United Kingdom. So Reyes Garcia initially obtained his 5-year degree in civil engineering at the University of Michoacan. Is it correct? Michoacan, Mexico. And he's got also dual MSc in earthquake engineering and engineering seismology in the Russe School in Italy and University of Grenoble-Alpes in France. And lastly, the PhD from the University of Sheffield in UK. So Dr. Reyes has a very long experience, more than 25 years of research and consultancy experience in the field of sustainable concrete, recycled or waste material in constructions, RP composite or construction, as well as in earthquake engineering. And Dr. Reyes also heavily involved in management and coordination of multi-partner European Union (EU) and Research Council funded project in excess of, wow, this is extraordinary, £5 million. Yeah. So his experience is not questionable anymore. He has designed and coordinated also large-scale shake table in large-scale facilities in Europe. So yesterday, Dr. Reyes also shows us the demonstration using the shaking table for full-scale model, almost full-scale, maybe structural model, shaken, yeah, with up to 2G, 4G, 4G. And also, the most important one is that Dr. Reyes has published more than 90 articles, papers, and book chapters, and contributed actively to the UK TG task, that is technical group, yeah, task for Eurocode 83. And he is a member of the FIB TG51. Is that CIB? FIB, yeah. Yes, yes, yeah. I was a member long time ago for FRP reinforcement for concrete structures and cost of actions, next generation guideline for composite reinforcement. So mostly those are related to how we improve our building to withstand earthquake, because there are many problems, and this is in particular very important for Indonesia. We have so many vulnerable buildings, houses, and we can learn from Dr. Reyes' experience how to reduce the vulnerability of those buildings to earthquake. Because what we experienced in the past, when there are earthquake, so many buildings were damaged and destroyed, life disrupted. So I think Dr. Reyes can bring contribution to help us in improving this situation. And Dr. Reyes also regularly review research grant proposals for national and international research council of Europe, Asia, and Latin America, as well as manuscript for more than 25 international journals. So I think if I have to read all, will be too long. We will spend all day to read the CV. But most importantly, that Dr. Reyes is willingly come to share his experience and knowledge, especially through the reviewing of manuscripts in many journals. And the experience will be, of course, useful to all of us aspiring to write or prepare international standards manuscript. Yeah. So, because usually we spend many months and even years, yeah, to revise, improve, modify our paper, our manuscript, and then it will get rejected after. So we don't want to have this kind of things. So let us now learn from Pak Reyes what are the tricks, yeah, and tips in writing good scientific paper, scientific article, and with as little as possible revisions, because it is always demoralizing to have so many critique from the reviewers. Yeah. And we have experienced that. Dr. Reyes also have experienced that. So he will share how to avoid this. So with this, I would like to offer this forum to Dr. Reyes to start the presentation, and later on we can have discussion, question answers with Dr. Reyes. He will be willingly answer all your questions and even provided direction on how to improve your manuscripts. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Reyes. Your platform is now.
Okay, thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak, Pak Krishna. It's always a privilege to be in Indonesia. First of all, thank you to University of Persada for the invitation to come and share some of the experience I've got over the years. Thank you also to Bu and Pak for their presence here. Let me stand up because this is very warm. I don't want to stand for this. Yeah, I can actually go there. The main idea today, the title is slightly different to what's shown on the banner, but the idea is essentially the same. Yeah? My main idea, and if hopefully by the end of this presentation, you will have a better idea on how to prepare your manuscripts to get them to the top journals, yeah? Because that's essentially what we want. Now, just before I start, I would like to get a bit of a feeling. Who's doing a PhD here among you? Are you doing PhDs? Are they undergrads, early career researchers, assistant professors? Yeah? Okay. Do you have assistant professors? Or someone doing postdocs, something like that? Because I think in particular that session for the early career researchers, this session is going to be particularly useful. Give you the presentation if you want, otherwise my contact details are there. Basically, the deputy convener of the built environment. Yeah, this is going to give me trouble. I can hear that. Yeah. Thank you. Basically, the deputy of the built environment and sustainability research cluster as well. That's not in the CV because otherwise it gets too long. That's actually the short version of the CV. But yes, that's the short version. But anyway. So hopefully by the end of the session, you will have a better idea of how to draft your manuscripts to get to those top journals, yeah? If at any point during the presentation you have questions, feel free to ask. This is not working, by the way. Oh, yeah, it's the other way. Okay, so basically, a bit more of background. I've been publishing scientific articles for over 20 years now. You can see the bags under my eyes and the gray hair. Pretty much all of this is coming from those 20 plus years, yeah? The other thing I've been doing is obviously, I've been reviewing journal articles for over 15 years now. So I have a bit of experience on how good quality research looks like. Not only in engineering, I do cross-disciplinary research. So if you check my Google Scholar or Scopus, you will see I have papers even on yoga, how yoga can help us improve the performance of students in engineering. Yeah, so yeah, so I basically do research in different areas, spanning even from social sciences, architecture, engineering, and so on. This was already mentioned. The other thing it's important to consider here is I'm basically associate editor in a journal, so I'm in charge of making the final decision. When you submit your manuscript to a journal, I'm the first one that receives the article, and then I have to make a decision quickly. Am I going to send it to peer review, to 2 or 3 referees to check it and give some feedback, or shall I just look for the bin, throw it, and reject it? Yeah. So that I'm going to tell you how I make the decisions, so you know more or less how to deal with us during the process of submission. But mainly, something I like, I'm a frustrated writer. I like to read and write good research stories. Yeah? A nice research with a clear path that we can see the end of the research that essentially has to answer the research question or the scientific challenge you are dealing with. This is the outline of the presentation. I won't go into the details of all of it, but basically, I think I'll spend most of my time essentially in these 3 items. Basically, how personally and how in the UK we look at high quality publishing material. Yeah? So you need to know more or less initially where the bar is, to try to jump over the bar and get your articles published, which is the second part. Some of the tricks, how we see your article, yeah, which is slightly different to the way authors see the article. And then at the end, why do we accept it, yeah? What sort of quality we require to make it publishable. So these are basically my two objectives. Basically, I call it something publishable is a material that can be actually out there for the world, yeah, in a journal, and how we see it, both in the UK and in general internationally, because many of the editors are based in the UK. And then the few tricks I'm going to pass on to make your articles hopefully more publishable. Before this, I forgot to mention, obviously, my background is in civil/structural engineering. So you will see that in the presentation, I'm going to lean very, very quickly towards the engineering side of things. But if you have a background on social sciences, finance, economics, management, and so on, hopefully this is going to help you a bit. If not, you can come later on and talk to me. Yeah, we can have a one-to-one chat, and we can check whatever material you have. So why do we publish? Those of you doing PhDs, because you want to get your PhD. Yeah? You want to be known as a doctor or something, and therefore you need to publish. Another reason is because we want to solve problems. We are interested on something. We want to solve it and then show to the world why we do it and how we do it. Those early academic researchers, all of you assistant professors, you're in the frying pan. So to get promotion, you need to publish papers. Yeah? There is a phrase in English, publish or perish. Yeah? So if you don't publish, you may actually get in trouble. Your dean may chase you and ask you why you haven't published in the last few years. So that's one reason. Also, to get more funding, it's also good for your CV. If you show you have experience in a particular field, it's going to be more likely to get funding in that field. This is pretty much the same because everyone does it in academia, so you also want to publish. The reality is that many times when we initially get the manuscript and we have to assess the quality of the research, we don't care about all these things. Yeah? First thing we see is the quality, the relevance, the novelty of the journal. I will tell you later on why we don't really care about all those things. Before that, I did a bit of research on Indonesia. I actually did it last year to understand better the landscape of how things work in here. Apologies if I get it wrong. This is basically what I found in different sources, Wikipedia, Saimago, some other sources. But basically what I found is, in general, there is good quality of research, and there is a lot of potential for impact. I will speak about impact in a minute. But many times, your research is difficult to sell. That's my personal impression. What I also noticed, this is not exclusive to Indonesia, by the way. Sometimes you focus too much on quantity and less on quality. That one in research, we call it fragmentation of research. Yeah? As I said, it's not exclusive to Indonesia. Thailand is the same, Malaysia is the same, Vietnam is the same. Those countries I'm aware, they also have the issue of fragmentation. In general, you have good local collaborations. So in your papers, you usually have 2 or 3 authors from other universities, not only your home universities. Over the years, Indonesia has been opening also more to international collaborations, although in the last few years, something happened. I'll show you a plot later on. Maybe you can help me understand what happened. But also, I also noticed that it doesn't seem to be much collaboration between industry and academia and NGOs and academia. Yeah? And that's an issue because, for instance, in the UK, there is a lot of this between industry, academia, and then NGOs and academia. And this, by the way, also improves the impact of the research, because that means you're actually producing something that people out there can use in a practical way. Now, most of the articles I found online come from the big universities. I won't give names, but you know which universities are big in Indonesia. Obviously, like any non-English speaking countries, and including myself. I'm not a native English speaker. I had to learn English. But that's always an issue, yeah, the English language, how you communicate the research. But obviously it's not inclusive, it's not exclusive to Indonesia. We all have the same problem. And in general, my conclusion is that there is a need to improve not only the number of outputs, the number of papers you produce, but also the quality, so that by doing so, you can also increase the impact of the research, because they are very much linked. And this is aligned with many universities' strategy trying to prioritize quality, more international collaboration, and in general, the outputs of the research. Now, this is literally, I copy-pasted this one from a source. This is a Spanish website called Saimago. They have a database of what's been produced since 1996 until last year. And then we have different countries. Then we have the number of articles, this column. These ones I can't even read what's in there. It's basically citable documents, citations, self-citations. But the ones I want to focus is basically these ones, the citation per document and the H index. At the very top, obviously you have the US, which are top publishers, and then China, so those are essentially the 1 and 2, then the UK is third, Germany, and so on. There is no way we can compare with those ones, because obviously those are big countries with lots of universities and lots of this, yeah, essentially. But we can compare Indonesia with the neighbors, yeah, other Asian countries, more or less same size of economy, probably less population, but at least in terms of the size of economy, I think that's probably a fairer comparison. So we have Malaysia there, in very close Singapore. Then we have Indonesia there, number 37. It's not too bad, actually. If you think you are better than Thailand, Vietnam, the Philippines, and obviously other countries in the region. That's basically, if we look at the number of documents. If you look only to those numbers, it doesn't look that bad. But then I started getting into the nitty-gritty. When it comes to the number of citations and the H index, if you see these two values there, this one is extremely low. This number here means that for every paper produced in Indonesia, that paper gets cited only 6 and almost 7 times, which if you compare it even with the Philippines, it's much lower. That's a direct effect of the impact, yeah? Meaning that when somebody reads the article, they think, okay, it's good, but I'm not going to cite it because it's not sufficiently good to be included in my research. And obviously that's reflected also in the H index, which basically tells you how many times your paper is cited online. So to me, when I saw this is concerning, and this is something you need to look at. Yeah, basically trying to, yes, the output is good. You produce lots of articles, but then there is an issue here, yeah? And that's related to the quality, the impact of the research. Hopefully, with this presentation, hopefully this number will be a bit higher next year, yeah? Fingers crossed. Now, the other thing I looked at, this report, by the way, literally came out 2 days ago. This is the rankings just in Asia. Indonesia is, where is it? I can't read from here. Here. So this is basically the ranking of universities. So in Asia, it's not actually bad, if you see. But then the question is, why, how come you are better than other countries? And that doesn't get reflected in that previous slide here. So there is clearly a structural issue. I don't have the answer for this, by the way. I'm just pinpointing some of the potential issues that you can think of in terms of research, especially if you are doing research on research or social sciences. This is something we need to address, yeah? There should be a reason why this number is so low, even much lower than, Philippines, Vietnam, much smaller countries, much smaller economies, and still the research gets more cited compared to Indonesia. So in terms of universities, obviously you have good universities. So this has to reflect in the previous slide, yeah, somehow. So there is room there for work, collaboration, and improvement. The other thing I looked at is, again, looking at that period of time, 1996-24. What we have here is it's basically two plots. Is the number of outputs. So since 2012, there is a massive increase in outputs, of course, reflecting strategies, policies, and so on, that surely the government has been introducing, pushing researchers to publish more. There is a dip here. This is COVID, essentially. We know we stopped doing some research during that time, but now it's picking up again. Now, ironically, the other thing I found is this little plot here. That's showing international collaboration, percentage of international collaborators in papers over time. For some reason, you collaborate less now than 20 years ago. Why? I don't know. Later on, you can tell me if there is a particular reason why. It's not only Indonesia. I also checked other Asian countries is the same. Malaysia is the same. Thailand is the opposite, actually. Thailand are opening more to collaborations. But something happened in the early 2000 and something that essentially reduced the number of international collaborations. Yeah? So we can maybe discuss later on the reason behind this drop here. And again, that has a consequence because, for instance, if I collaborate with my colleagues in Thailand, I cite our papers, yeah, because I'm in the paper as well. So having international collaborations is going to increase also somehow the number of citations, and that's going to reflect in the H index we saw earlier on. And obviously, in terms of the impact, it's going to have a wider impact in the long term. Okay, so that's as long as I'll go for in terms of Indonesia doing research. I don't want to pinpoint too many things. But basically, the thing we are moving on now is the peer review, how we basically do peer review, how we publish. By the way it looks, I think the peer review is going to stay for a long time. Basically, we receive the manuscripts, then we decide whether it's good quality or not. Here? Okay. Can you hear me? Okay, good. Let me try to keep it closer then. So yeah, I think the peer review is going to dominate in the future anyway, despite all the issues we have with the peer review process. In general, journals see us, editors and reviewers, as assets, so we are of value for them because basically we produce things for them. But actually, we are the ones who suffer the most during the peer review process. Yeah, because personally, I don't like rejecting articles because I know what the authors are going to feel, but I have to do it sometimes. Yeah, so I have to basically take my heart away and then make a decision of an article. So it's actually. We actually suffer, or I don't like rejecting articles, but anyway. Remember that most of us who do the peer review process in journals, we are academics, we are lecturers, we are extremely busy. We have essentially 3 jobs in one. We have the research, we have to give lectures, and then we have the admin work as well. And on top of that, we also have families, we have wives or husbands, children that are very demanding. If you are like my girls, they are very demanding. They always want daddy to be around. Work-life balance, we need holidays, we need to rest. So it's actually a very busy life for us as editors and reviewers. And therefore, you have to make our life as easy as possible. Now, the other thing, most of us, we work for free. In journals, yeah, we don't get anything paid. It's only because we like advancing research, because we are curious, and sometimes we are a bit nosy as well. We want to see what's happening around. In general, I think centuries ago it was French, the language that dominated research, but obviously now it's English. And by the way it looks, it's going to dominate at least in the next 100 years. So polish up your English. If you have the chance to improve it, to travel to an English-speaking country, just do it. And related to that, only when an article, a manuscript, is well written, we can do a proper peer review. Yeah? If an article, if a manuscript is not initially well written, it's very difficult to give positive feedback. Yeah? So it's in the mind of both editors and reviewers. If it's not properly written, the manuscript, in our head it says reject. Yeah? So try to do it properly. Now, writing is a bit of an art. It requires time and an effort. But it's always good to sit down, do a good planning, structure your article. I'll tell you later on more or less how you can do it, at least for engineering and in general, many areas of engineering. Doing the structuring is fundamental, also to clarify your thoughts and see how you're going to present your research story. And probably this is one of the main points I would like to highlight. When you are producing a manuscript, when you are writing, you are not writing for you. Yeah? You're writing for someone else who may or may not be an expert. I'm not an expert in every single area of engineering, and I still need to judge if an article is publishable or not. So you have to try as much as you can to make our life as easy as possible. Yeah? If you produce a manuscript which is not of high quality, again, our brain, we have unconscious bias. Very quickly we'll say, reject the article. Yeah? So you have to try and make it high quality, easy to follow, easy to read, and quick to review. I'll tell you later on also what the expectation is in terms of the number of words, because that's an issue we are having now in many journals. We are getting very, very long articles. Essentially, the first thing when personally I get a manuscript, the email comes into my inbox and then it pings. I need to go to the system, I click on the manuscript, it opens up, and then first thing in my head is, what am I actually learning from this piece of research? Is there something interesting that I need to know? And most importantly, do other people need to know it? Because maybe it's interesting for me, but not potentially for other people. So I have to initially assess whether that manuscript is publishable or not. Again, you will see this word coming up a lot. What's the impact on the subject? Yeah, if it's an article of something which is not very relevant, why should we publish it? Why should I send it out to peer review if there is no impact? So we have to keep in mind, as editors, we are also thinking of the potential number of citations, especially because that has in the impact factor, that has an effect on the impact factor. Yeah? So the more the citations we get for a particular manuscript, the impact factor of the journal is going to go high. So that's something we keep in mind when we are assessing. Is the research good to potentially go to technical reports, guidelines, codes of practice, and so on? Again, that's going to increase the impact. The sites per article, how many downloads. Every time an article gets downloaded from our websites, again, that's basically counting. The more it gets downloaded, the better for the journal. And then more and more, of course, we check originality using Turnitin, AI these days as well, artificial intelligence, to check if the article is original or not. But we'll speak about originality later on. Now, something I found interesting is this quote by one of the editors of this particular journal. They found that for that specific journal, about 27% of the articles they published got 0 citations, which is bad, because essentially that means out of 100 articles, 27, nobody really minds about the research. Yeah, so it's not a good article that looks good in my journal. Yeah, so we need to try and make our articles publishable, but also citable by increasing the impact. Okay, so I'll go a bit deeper now on how we expect your article to be. And for that, I'm going to go a bit deeper into the REF system, that we call it the Research Excellence Framework, or simply REF. That one measures the impact of your research. We have a classification basically going from 4-star to 0-star. The way we are classifying research is 4-star is the best, because there is originality, relevance, and rigor in the research, particularly in the methodology. 3-star is still good. That's internationally excellent. 2-star, you are getting wobbly. It's more or less there in the middle, but they are still good quality articles. And then these two, we just forget about it. We try not to produce articles that are going to be classified into this part of that ranking. The main idea of REF is it's pretty much linked also to how much money the universities get. So the more 4-star articles we produce, the more money the university will get. Now, how a 4-star paper look like? Basically points to new paradigms, new ideas that are basically breaking through the establishment or whatever state of the art we have now. They show leading research or research which is well ahead in the subject. You can think of AI 50, 60 years ago when people were talking about it. It was mind-blowing. But now AI is everywhere. Yeah? So clearly, those are ideas that need to be published. Novelty, new techniques, new results, they may have a major influence in the particular area of research. New concepts, or they open the way to investigate new concepts. Big changes in policies or professional practice. You can probably discover that the code or something particular is wrong, and you found it. That's also 4-star. And then a 4-star paper has strong influence in processes, production methods, especially those doing management or industrial engineering. This is particularly relevant. When your research changes something, then that's a 4-star article. Now, at the University of Warwick, sometimes we sit in the panels, in the committees, to assess how we are doing research. And there is a very strong emphasis on quality. So for instance, if you want to be a lecturer in the UK, sometimes having 2 4-star articles is better than having 8 2-star articles. Yeah, so quality over quantity. They always ask us to aim for 3 or 4 stars, and that's for a reason, because every time we do this REF exercise, for every 4-star article, the university gets this. I get essentially 0, but the university gets this, and that's good, because that's our way we contribute to the university making some money. 3 stars are not as good, because you only get 25K, but let's say if you manage to get 4 3 stars, that's equivalent to one of these, and that's still good money for the university. Yeah? So the university is happy as long as you produce these articles with 2 or with 3 or 4 stars. Now, sometimes we have to admit our research is not top quality. We have to sacrifice ourselves and produce this sort of 2-star articles. Those are still good. Personally, I'm still happy producing these articles because many times I can use these ones to guide engineers or to do something practical or to present case studies that probably will not change the world, but it may help someone out there who's looking for solutions or answers to a particular problem. Yeah, again, your article, your manuscript doesn't have to be Nobel Prize level to be classified as a 4-star, but there are 3 things that usually the panels like to see: originality or novelty in the article, the relevance, why you are doing what you are doing and why it's important, and the impact, yeah, how people can actually use that later on, that piece of research you produce. In general, there is a strong push in the UK to produce those 4-star articles because that increases the visibility of the university. Yeah? If you go to the University of Warwick website, and particularly the School of Engineering, one of the first banners you see is that 92% of our research articles is world leading or internationally recognized. So 4-star and 3-star, yeah, which looks good in numbers. And obviously that has an impact in the visibility both nationally and internationally. When we see it in these committees, there is a strong correlation. Usually those with more experience tend to give higher scores when we are assessing those articles, so they tend to give more 4 stars compared to 3 stars. And many times there are tricks. You may have an article which is probably not there at the very, very top, at the 4-star of quality, but if you know how to present it, how to present the information, how you present your research story, you can actually squeeze it into the 4-star category. Yeah, and they ask us not to waste time in 2-star articles unless, as I said, you can use that research later on. Sometimes if you are doing tests or initial studies and you want to publish that and then use that, for instance, to get a grant, that's okay. So you can produce not so good articles if they help you to do something else and build on them. In general, if you have a very good article, my recommendation is not to publish it in a bad journal, yeah, because it looks bad. So always try to publish in Q1 or Q2. Are you familiar with the Q1 and Q2 classification, most of you? Yeah, okay. So aim for the top 25%, yeah, of journal articles. I'll spend a bit more on this, on the abstract and introduction later on. But in general, what I would expect to see as an editor is to tell me very clearly and very quickly why your article is original and what's the impact of the article. If I cannot see it clearly, again, in my head, my unconscious bias says reject, yeah? I have to take my heart out and just click reject, and that's going to be disappointing for the authors. Yeah, in general, what we have found when we sit in these committees, when you prepare very long and wordy abstracts, that doesn't look good, yeah? Because sometimes in the abstracts, authors start going in circles. We don't like that. I don't like that. I want to see clearly what the problem is, why it's original, and then why we have to publish it. So try to avoid long and wordy abstracts. Now, sometimes in those abstracts, people say, oh, there has been plenty of research on this. Okay, so if there is already a lot of research, why do we need to publish your article? Yeah. So many people, it's surprising. I'll show you some examples later on. It's surprising how many people kill their articles themselves very quickly. Yeah, again, emphasizing originality and impact. Those will lead essentially to 4-star articles. What is this? Yeah, because when we sit on these committees, we have to read the article through anyway. So even if the abstract is not so good, sometimes we can give 4 stars if the article itself is good. Okay, so I'm going to show you now some examples from actual journals. Hopefully they want to listen to this, the authors mentioned there. For instance, we have this is approximate solutions for Heimer flow to a well. So this is engineering. The abstract starts in a very strong way. An exact solution for that particular problem does not exist. That's a very strong statement. And once you get into the article, you find it's true. I cannot argue against it. So they proposed a simplified methodology to actually calculate and solve that problem. Yeah? So you can always start with a very strong statement. Obviously, you need to support your statement later on in the article. Yeah? Don't just leave it like that hanging there. But if you say that, as an editor, I say, wow, this is good stuff. We need to publish it, because obviously that's going to increase the impact and the visibility of my journal and that's what I want. Yeah. So starting like that is always good, because it changes the mindset in the editor rather than reject. Oh, this is good. We need to accept it. Let me see what's in there. If it's good, I'll send it quickly to peer review. Okay, now this one here, I hit the name of the and the authors on purpose. But basically the article presents results, and then they go about saying that there are lots of papers out there, and essentially the results they got match what other people have found in the past. The article is published. Me, as an editor, I would have rejected this. Because basically, I cannot see the originality. The first time I was given to assess this one, I thought, I mean, what is this? There is no originality, there is no impact, and there is no relevance. So why other people should know it if it's not there? Okay, so let's move on now to probably what you want to hear is how to write your articles. There is no secret, so if you're expecting like a magic slide with the solution to everything, publishing there are no secrets. Yeah, it's pretty much established. But hopefully what I'm going to tell you now is going to help you structure better your articles. To me, this is the critical stage, the preparation stage. Pak Krishna mentioned it. Sometimes it takes years to actually produce a good quality article. But I can tell you, nobody else is going to do it. Yeah, you have to do it. As an editor, it's not my responsibility. Obviously, not the reviewers. So it's essentially you, the authors, who have to make the hard work and try to make our work as easy as possible. Okay. So preparation. The structure of the article, we'll speak about this one later on. Some of the technical aspects. And basically later on, I'll show you why, as an editor, why I would accept your article. First thing to do is the idea. And in general, as engineers, and what I've seen over the years is that we are very good at generating ideas. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. We need to think of innovation, how to move things forward. But you have to check it initially to see if it's really original. At the moment, there are many things going on. And producing something which is really breakthrough is really, really hard, but still possible. So you have to check your idea if there is originality. Then, what's the scientific challenge? Many times when I'm editing or reviewing the articles, the first thing I see is the solution, not the scientific challenge. And that's one of the issues many times when it comes to publishing. Many people will start with a solution. This article proposes whatever it is. Okay, that's fine. But first, tell me, what's the actual problem you're trying to solve? Yeah? What's the scientific gap or the research question or whatever it is you are trying to solve? If it's not clearly there in the abstract, then it's going to be very difficult for editors to decide whether that's publishable or not. So state clearly what the scientific challenge is. If it's a relevant or hot topic, again, if you are doing research on AI in engineering, at the moment, my head is going to say yes, accept it, yeah? Because it's a very hot topic. And we know that almost every article we accept in our journals which is working on AI, it will be highly cited, which is good for me as editor. It's also good for the journal because it's going to increase the impact factor. Yeah. But again, don't be biased by the AI. You can do research on other things. Yeah, not necessarily AI. And again, did you actually solve something? Did you actually solve a research problem? Because many times, as I said, we come up with a solution, but then there is no problem to that solution. Yeah. So we'll speak about it a bit more later on. My general approach is based on these questions. If you say yes to 3 of them, then you should write an article and submit it to a journal. Sometimes you can actually get away with 2 of them. it depends on the editor. Some editors are very strict. Some other editors are less strict. Yeah, so it depends to which editor your manuscript goes to. One of the things as a young PhD student, something I found very helpful is to get the updates from the journals as soon as the papers got published. So you can always go to the websites. You should know by now which journals are the top journals in your area of research. So you can always get the feed every week or every 2 weeks. You get in your email the list with the latest articles. And in that way, you keep on top of things. Yeah? You basically see what's being published, and then if you see all my research is aligned with this, that's actually fine, because that means it's still a hot topic that deserves to be published in the journals. So always keep on top of things. Then you have to decide on the type of manuscript you are going to produce. These days there are from communication letters, review articles, opinions, full articles, research articles. So there are lots of types of articles these days. So you have to decide what you want to produce. The length of your manuscript will also probably tell you more or less if you can go for a full article or a technical note sometimes if it's too short. But yeah, just think of the manuscript you're going to produce. If you don't have much material, it's always good to take a step back and think about what you want to publish. Is it really enough to get to a full article? Maybe you can get away with a technical note, especially if it's something good. Those doing research on medicine or bio things that sometimes you want to get out your articles very, very quickly. Sometimes producing a technical note is better because the peer review process of those ones is usually shorter. Rather than months, it can be as short as weeks, because these are relatively short pieces of review. You can always ask your opinions. You can ask your supervisor, do you think this is publishable? Can we try to push it to a journal, or shall we keep it, do more research, and then try to go for another journal? So you can always ask around to other people with more experience. Now, something really, really important, I mentioned it at the beginning, is think who you are writing to. Yeah, you are not writing for yourselves. You're actually writing for people like me. I'm not a native English speaker. I'm probably, most of the people who will read your research are not native English speakers. Yeah? So one of the first mistakes I did because my mother tongue is Spanish. Spanish, like many languages, I'm sure Indonesian is the same. It's a very rich language. And I used to go with very long sentences, comma, another long sentence, comma, another long sentence, comma. Then I realized, actually, this is not the way we write in English. So I had to learn the hard way. Every time I would go to my supervisor, he would say, no, 23 words. That's the maximum, the rough estimation, yeah? I've tried it in different languages, English, Spanish, roughly 23 words and a full stop. That seems to work more or less fine. So try to avoid those things. Most of your readers are going to be non-native speakers, so they will thank you for that. Every journal has a different audience, and because of that, also a different writing style. So if you are thinking in publishing in a particular journal, it's good to go and check previous papers, especially new ones from the latest issues. I don't know, 2 or 3 years back to where you want to publish. So do check the writing style, the words they use, because obviously that's going to help also in the peer review. When you are choosing your journal, obviously you want to aim for Q1, you are all excited and you want to get there and say, yes, I have a super article that I want to publish there. But first, make sure you are going to submit to the right journal. Yeah? Check the aims and especially the scope of the journal. Yeah? So go and check the website. check what types of article they publish. Sometimes you have a state-of-the-art review. Well, some journals don't take state-of-the-art review, like Construction and Building Materials now, which is one of the top journals in civil engineering. We met with the editor-in-chief a few months ago. They are not taking reviews anymore. So it's only technical papers what they will take. Again, think of your reader, your audience. Hot topics, if you're doing AI, for sure it will get published, or almost for sure. Something I used to do a lot when I was a young author, check the panel. You know who are the experts in your field, Professor X or Professor Y. If they are sitting in the editorial panel or if they are editors in the journal, that's good. Especially if you are citing their articles in your manuscript, yeah? Because we check those, oh, my name is there. It should be good, yeah? I need to publish it. That's conscious bias. And then the timing, more and more, this one is something I learned over the years, not when I was a young author. Basically the timing, and especially this, acceptance rate. I don't know if, I think Springer has actually put down the website, but at least Taylor and Francis, of the big five, I know Taylor and Francis, Sage, Elsevier, they still have these websites where they tell you the acceptance rate of the articles, the manuscripts you submit. So for instance, if I want to publish my article, I go and check quickly the acceptance rate, which is here. I wouldn't submit to this one. Yeah, the acceptance rate is only 5%. So the risk is very high. Yeah, why should I take the risk? I'll go for this one, or this one, where my article has a higher chance. Yeah. The other thing you have to keep in mind is that many times journals have what we call rejection targets or acceptance targets. It depends how you want to see it. So many times when we're sitting in the panels, in the committees, the big boss of the journal and the editorial, they say, oh, we cannot accept more than 15%. So we have to stick to that. So we have to be harsh, take our heart out, and then reject essentially 85% of the manuscripts we get, as harsh as it sounds. I'm sure you didn't know that, or some of you didn't know that. So yeah, check the acceptance rate and the open access options. Of course, in many universities now, open access is the only choice. So the more the open access options you have, the more likely your papers are going to get cited. Yeah, to choose the right journal, you can always ask around, ask people. However, your reference list should give you an idea to which journals you should be aiming for. Yeah, so check that as well. Don't submit to more than one journal. I know that sometimes that's a practice. But now we share more information more and more. At least in Elsevier, Springer, you can actually see if there are similarities and keywords with other journals within the same publisher. And again, more and more we are being articles retracted. When we are called to the panels, there is always an ethical committee. And if something looks a bit suspicious or a bit dodgy, then we have to retract the article, unfortunately. And we are seeing more and more of those stories, unfortunately, as well. There is always a guide for authors in every single journal, so check it out. Follow the instructions. Sometimes there are templates, so just take the template and follow whatever it says. Size of text. This is a headache for me. Usually the referencing format, nomenclature, tables, figures. Check what the requests are from every journal. That's going to save you your time, my time as well. And again, if I see that everything is nicely formatted as requested in my head, yeah, it's good. Let's send it out for peer review. Yeah, at least they followed clearly the instructions, So in my heart, I say, yeah, okay, let's give them a chance and see if there is something good in there. I don't like manuscripts without the right formatting. In some countries, for instance, in Japan, if you don't follow the template, that's disrespectful. Yeah, because you're talking to a big professor in Japan. You have to show respect. So you follow whatever they ask you to do. Just follow it. It's not that difficult. And again, if it doesn't follow the formatting, in my head I say, yeah, reject it. Why should I send it to peer review? Yeah, this is moving on now to how to actually build the article. The contents, how to structure is important, but also the presentation is important. There should be a logic, yeah, like a research story, that we can clearly see where the article is going and basically how you are going to answer that research question, that scientific challenge you establish at the very beginning of the story. It has to be coherent from the beginning until the end, and then written carefully and with a nice pace. Again, the relevance, this appears several times in this presentation. That one should be evident very, very quickly in the article, either in the abstract or then in the introduction. In engineering, this is pretty much specific to engineering, but over the years I've seen that it actually works quite well even in social sciences, economics, and so on, because we can see good research very, very quickly as editors. So typically what we do, we have the title, authors, the abstract keywords, the main text. We have, in engineering, we use what we call the IMRAD format. I'll show you a bit more about it later on. Acknowledgements, references, and then appendices, any supplementary materials that cannot make it into the main body of the manuscript, then it goes there. I actually use a lot of appendices on these things because we do lots of tests and experiments. Now, personally, when I get a manuscript, the message comes into my inbox, and then I have to make quickly a decision whether to reject it or send it to peer review. There are three things I check. The title, just to see if it's good stuff or not. I use that one. I go quickly to the search engines, Google Scholar, Scopus, and so on, to see how hot the topic is. But I also use it to choose reviewers. Yeah? So if I try to find someone who's working in the field, and then I send the articles to those reviewers. Then I check the keywords. Again, I use the same. And then I go straight to the references. I don't check the rest. I only check those three things. Now, what I found over the years is with this one, that's pretty much related to the scope, but I also found that there is a very strong correlation between the quality of the references and the quality of the writing in the manuscript itself. So if the references are good, well polished, and everything, usually the manuscript itself is also good. As soon as I get references which are all over the place, inconsistent, different referencing styles, and so on, in my head, it says reject it. Because again, I would need to ask the authors, look, this is not correct, it's not following the style, you need to resubmit it. And then if this is already raising the red flag, I may go and check quickly the methodology. If there is nothing, that's a straight desk rejection. Yeah. So polish your references. Yeah. Make sure they are properly written, especially if your manuscript comes to me. So okay. So let's talk about the IMRAD format, which I mentioned before, how we can structure the main body of the article. The I is obviously the introduction. What did you do? Yeah, you have to show the state of the art, what other people are doing, what's happening in the field, why it's happening, yeah, and basically show what's happening in general around your research story. Then M is the methodology. what did you actually do and how you did it. Yeah? Explain it in a clear way. The methodology is always a tricky bit. With my PhD students, there is always a struggle there because they want to show everything to make the methodology replicable, which is one of the criteria. You have to show enough detail so that other people can actually replicate whatever you did. Now, most of them go over the top and they bring 10 pages of methodology in an article, which is obviously too much. So you need to show enough to make it replicable, but not too much, so that you overwhelm both the editors and the reviewers. Yeah? So not too much and not too little. And then you move to your results, main observation, experimental results, and so on. And then the discussion is sometimes integrated into the result, but basically you also have to focus on the implications, the relevance, why and how your results can be used in the context of the research. And I would say that's where you show also the impact. And this is the only bit in your manuscript where you can be a bit speculative and say, my results can be used to in the future. So this is probably the only place where you can play a bit with that and speculate somehow with the results in your research. Oh, sorry, went the wrong way. In general, what we do is, in the figure you can see, it's wide at the beginning, then it gets very, very narrow, and then it goes wide again. So we go from the general, setting the scene of the research, then we move on to the specific, because you need to narrow it down to your methodology, and then at the end, we try again to go narrow and show what the general impact is going to be. That's the ideal. In reality, usually we get experimental results. That's the first thing we get. So we typically have the figures and tables. And then we start, okay, now I understand what I did. Let me write the methodology, and then the results and discussion. Then at the end, conclusions and introduction. And then the abstract and the title. And this is more or less what I do when, well, not me anymore, but my PhD students. I usually tell them, okay, bring me the results, and then we take it from there. So somehow we start somewhere in the middle of the IMRAD figure. We start somewhere here, then we go here, and then we go back. That's okay, as long as you understand your whole research story and you know how to tell it in a nice way for the reviewers and the editors. The title, my recommendation is to make it as short as possible, no more than 2 lines, and descriptive. Yeah? An effective title states the novelty, a new framework to examine, yeah? If it says new, or novel, or whatever it is, again, in my head, it says, oh, if this is new, it should be worth publishing. Start with the article's subject. I don't know if you are doing AI, and AI is not in the title. I don't like it. Yeah? It has to be there, because it's part of the research methodology. Then it has to be specific. Yeah? No wonder, no anything. Be as specific as possible. Try to avoid abbreviations. Well, like AI, that one is pretty obvious, so that one you can use it. But if it's a very technical abbreviation within your field, try to avoid it. And mainly try to make it catchy, yeah? Attract the attention of the reader. Sometimes you can actually state the title as a question. Can we infer, I don't know, cancer from sniffing monkeys or something like that? Yeah, you can actually produce your article thinking as a matter of the research question you're trying to answer, so that you engage your audience very, very quickly. Again, the abstract sells the article. Less is more. Most of the journals, they limit the number of words in the abstract to, I don't know, 150 to 300 words. Depends on the field, depends on the journal. Now, the abstract has to be precise and especially honest. Don't promise the moon and the stars in your article, Because then when I still review articles, and then you promise everything, and then when I get to the actual results, there is nothing. So you start, wow, this is really, really good stuff, and then I start reading, and then my heart sinks, because there is basically nothing there. So again, in my head, reject it. Why should we bother with it? Yeah. So be honest and realistic in the abstract. Yeah. Say this is what we are showing. This is why we're showing it. These are the results, and so on. Don't try to oversell whatever piece of research you are producing. You should stand alone. So you have to give a bit of the problem, a bit of the methodology, some results, and then show the relevance and the impact. All that in 150 or 200 words. This is a meme, by the way. You can find it online, I'm sure, if you look for it. Try to avoid jargon, so very specific words, unless they are obvious in your field. Again, less is more. Try to be brief. And unless it's really, really necessary, avoid using references within the abstract itself. And again, to me, the abstract is the first thing I check, and that very quickly influences my decision, whether it's a desk rejection or I send it to peer review. Yeah. And then, okay, I'm going to show you now a few examples. I covered the name of the authors in some of them for obvious reasons. But basically, this is an example of an article. I reviewed this one myself. There is very limited impact in the abstract. The abstract basically starts saying that there are environmental issues, but then the problems, this was actually from South Korea, the problem there was that there was a snowfall, and that collapsed one greenhouse. And because of that, they had to do tests on greenhouses and see how that affected the behavior of the greenhouse. When I looked at it, there is not much. So why should other people learn about this? Yeah. So I gave my opinion to the editor in those days, and you can imagine what happened. Yeah. So try to make your research in such a way that has some impact for other people. If there is only one failure out of hundreds of thousands of greenhouses, that's not going to work. Yeah. Now, yeah, this is a classic one. Avoid assuming that everyone knows the problem you are dealing with. Yeah. It is well known. Whatever follows, exactly. Whatever follows afterwards, I'm already feeling stupid, because maybe I don't know. And if it says it is well known and I don't know it, it makes me feel like an idiot. Oh, I'm the only idiot in it who doesn't know about this. So avoid that. Yeah, tell the readers, tell the reviewers quickly why it's important, why you are solving that problem. Yeah? So don't make assumptions that everyone knows what you are doing, because that's not the case. Yeah, some other people, rather than producing very long abstracts, they go the other way around. They produce extremely short abstracts that doesn't say much. And again, as editors, that's the first thing we check. Yeah. So you have a couple of examples here. Effectiveness of a technique. So they go about explaining a bit of the methodology in 3 groups, okay, but without giving too many details. This is strengthening with fiber polymers of concrete elements. Okay, CFRP strips were applied, okay, fine. How many? 1, 2, 5, 200? So it's a very vague way to describe the methodology. And obviously that's not what we want. Yeah, we want to see the specifics, or at least the general information about the methodology, so that we can assess quickly if this is worth of peer review or not. This one, what is this? Oh yeah, this. Some variable effects were investigated. Some, what is some? Yeah, is it something I need to know, or something that other people need to know. If it's very vague, again, that doesn't help me, because I need to take a decision quickly, yeah, whether to send it to peer review or not. And with very little information, you can imagine in my head what's happening, yeah? Why bother? If I reject it, it's going to save me time actually later on. So let's reject it quickly. So yeah, you have to be brief, but not too brief. Yeah, you need to give us a bit of flesh, a bit of meat we can actually chew. Yeah, the keywords, those are used for search engines. I particularly use them to choose the reviewers. Check the guide for authors. In some journals, you have only specific keywords you can use. Yeah, so if they ask you to use only those keywords, you stick to those ones. Many times there is a maximum number of keywords, usually 5, 7, it depends. Avoid general terms. If you are doing research on soil, if you just say soil, okay, soil what? Dirty soil, contaminated soil, good soil, organic soil. So you have to be more specific, yeah? Don't just leave concrete, like in my area, when I say concrete, okay, but what type of concrete? Structural concrete, the concrete technology, yeah? So give us some information that we can use. Again, the abbreviations, only if they are common, like I don't know, DNA, basically we all know what it is, the fast Fourier transform, those doing signal processing or electronics or even seismology, or SMEM analysis, the microstructural level analysis. Those ones, yes, we can use them because in your area, most of the people will know what you're talking about. Okay, so talking about introduction, it's almost 1 hour, yeah, should be fine. How much time I have? Another half an hour, maybe I can finish? Yeah, okay, so let's go. I try to finish in Yeah, for it. Okay, so I'll go a bit quicker than here. Basically, in the introduction you have to convince us that the work is relevant, yeah, and that you know what the state of the art is. So potential questions to answer, tell us what the problem is, what's around, state of the art, yeah, tell us quickly what's happening. Which technique, which methodology is best, and also why is the best. Current limitations, and basically what you are going to try and achieve in the particular manuscript you're going to submit. Now, many times when you present this, people are very qualitative. They only say, oh, there is not much research. Okay, but how much is not much? Yeah? So try to quantify, compare results as much as you can. Yeah, I don't know. Research shows that 30% of patients with cancer die because of issues with treatments. Yeah, quantify in percentage, compare X number of times, whatever it is, so that we can assess quickly if there is relevance or not. Again, back up your research. If you provide a good background with a good number of articles that support your research, that's also good. Convince the reader that's basically stating the problem. Then you have to convince us that your solution is going to answer that problem. Yeah. So you can always use words like, however, this has been researched, however, such and such, yeah, or there are things that remain unclear. A classic one is, this has not been investigated before. Okay, that's fine, as long as you have provided some background on the research problem. Yeah, so that shouldn't be the justification to do research. Yeah, not because it hasn't been done before. That means that it has to be done. Maybe there is no need to do it for a reason. Yeah, so you have to think on that. Yeah, and many times, sometimes you can use. If there is limited research, that's fine. Inconclusive or even contradictory research, that's okay. You can use those sort of wording. Yeah, the context is good. You need to show the state of the art, but without going over the top. So your introduction should be more than 2 pages, probably 3 pages, if you really want to stretch things. Now, sometimes I come across with introductions where they start explaining the methodology and even some of the results. That's too soon. Yeah, because we don't know yet the state of the art. It's very difficult to start introducing your own results if we don't know first what the problem is and what other people are doing around you. You can always say your research is new, or for the first time we are presenting this sort of research. Okay, that's fine as long as it's properly supported with other research. And then sometimes, especially in some particular topics, you always have to cite classic references. My supervisor, when I serve as editor and I see the name of my supervisor in an article, yes, it's nice. Okay, there is relevance. Yeah, I see my big professor there. If the surname is properly spelled, because his surname is tricky. If the surname is wrong, reject. Yeah, in my head. Yeah, the methodology is basically to show how you investigated the problem. Again, the balance, you need to provide enough information, but not too much, so that you overwhelm the reviewers. Depending on the type of article, you need to put more or less on your methodology. Yeah, if you are actually creating a new methodology, obviously you need to expand more on that. Yeah, but again, in general, a good methodology should be explained potentially in 2 to 5 pages, depending on the area. But don't put too much information. If there is more information you want to put, you can always use the appendices. Yeah, not necessarily the main body of the article. Then moving on to results, basically you have to show what you found in your results. Now, in the results, at least in my articles, I only include the relevant experiments that are going to help me answer the original research question or questions, which, by the way, should be related to the aim and objectives of your research. Yeah? So even if you have lots of results, that doesn't mean all the results have to be in the main body of the article. You can send some of the results to the appendices in case somebody else wants to check and cross-correlate your results. Again, when you are presenting your results, you can start discussing the differences and similarities between your results and other results in the literature. So that's also fine. If you did some analysis, again, this is the place to do it. But importantly, provide both qualitative and quantitative comparisons. Yeah, I'll expand on this a bit more later on. Sometimes there's a typo here. You can expand the scope of your research here, mention the implications, and how you can actually use the results potentially for other research. Yeah, so this is where you can stretch things a bit more and say, oh, my results could be used in the future to solve X, Y, or Z, whatever it is that you can solve later on with your own results. Figures and tables. Again, a figure speaks 1,000 words, and I'm particularly strict with this, especially with my PhD students. The quality is critical because they are meant to explain things that you cannot explain in the text. And many times I found things that are the other way around. When I go to the figure, I actually get more confused compared to what I read in the text. Let's see a few examples. These are actual articles, by the way, I had to review at some point. Now, this is a single figure. So you can imagine this was in more or less less than half a page. Now, my eyes are not as good as they used to be. So you can imagine this in half a page, and I'm trying to read the text here and here. I cannot read that. Reject. Yeah, if I cannot read it, other people will not be able to read it either. Yeah, so you have to present your methodology and your results in a proper way and with good figures. Lots of data, which I cannot see. Yeah, I'm colorblind, so I only see little rhomboids there, all together. Now, if I want to get this specific point of data, can you see it? Yeah? How many points you have? Probably like 10 or 15. Squeeze there. That doesn't help me as reviewer and as editor. So try to avoid just tossing the results just by the sake of showing the results. Same with this one. Here they use colors. I cannot say colors. So think not on your audience, but also think that people like me are going to review your articles. Colorblind, partially blind. 80% of vision on this one, 20% of this one. So I only have 100 between the two. Yeah. So we cannot read very small pieces of information like this one. Yeah. So be considerate with old guys like me. Believe it or not, these are actual figures. These are the results. What's showing? Who knows? I have no idea. Obviously, I had to reject this one. This is a beam, Pakrishna, 3-point testing. That's all shown. Even my daughters can draw something better than this. Yeah, but this is supposed to show the experimental setup of a flexural beam with internal reinforcement, looking at shear. It's a deep beam, which is a critical issue in civil engineering. But all you are given is this. No dimensions, which is actually the critical element there. The shear span, no idea, which is the other critical component there. So you can imagine, again, what happened to this submission. Now, good examples. This is from, I can't remember this one, I reviewed this one, but when I saw this picture, this image, I thought, this is good, yeah? 3D, very clearly what's happening. Even if I'm not an expert in civil, I would be able to understand. There is a wall, floor here. They have a specimen that they tested with this jack, pushing and pulling, easy. They are using a strengthening technique. You can see the different layers there. That's it, all nicely labeled. 1, 2, 3, 4, brilliant, good stuff. Yeah, accept. So it looks good. I understand what's going on. Yeah, very quickly. I don't have to be looking for the little piece of information in the figure. This one is also a good example. This one is actually mine. So but again, just to give you an idea, the test setup, in this case, beam column joints. Again, the jack, everything labeled, everything to scale, actually, in that particular drawing with AutoCAD. Even the distance between the bolts is at scale, yeah, at that level of detail. This one I did it 3D. Again, even if you're not an expert, this specimen here, this T beam column connection is essentially this one here in 3D. So we put essentially carbon FRPs around, showing in the direction, dimensions, everything, so that it's very quickly for the reviewers to understand how we did the strengthening. Even the photograph here, how we replaced part of the concrete there when we observed damage. Everything labeled again. Now, if the results you got are very, very similar, and you really want to show them, you can, but not necessarily in the main body of the manuscript. Yeah? If things look very similar and you are using 4.5 pages of the main body of the manuscript, I'm reading essentially here, and then I need to continue reading somewhere here, that's painful for the peer review. Yeah? Maybe show 1 or 2 examples, and then the rest you can send them to the appendices. If I'm interested and I really want to get into your manuscript, I'll go and check them, yeah? Which is my job as a reviewer. I will go and check them. But don't put too many similar results continuously, so that I have to be scrolling up and down in the PDF to check the text in the manuscript. Long tables, such a number in table 1, or whatever number it is. Now, I go to this table, and I have to find the number you are saying. Yeah, again, colorblind, it's difficult. Yeah, if you are referring to a particular number, highlight it, yeah, or make it red, or put a star or something, so I can go and quickly. Oh, that's the number, 0.5. Okay, move on. Yeah, we carry on checking the manuscript. Yeah, the presentation is everything when it comes to figures and tables. Balance, not too much, not too little. That's already mentioned. Scales, vertical and horizontal. Font size, same, yeah, in the axis, and then inside the figure itself. not many colors, please. Assume the worst case scenario, yeah, that we are lost in the table or in the figure, we don't know where it is. You have to tell us quickly where it is, yeah, with a highlight or something, a circle with a dashed line, that helps. Yeah, basically show only what's relevant to answer the original aim and objectives. If you are showing tables, for instance, with a standard deviation, R-square, and so on, include them directly in the table. The use of decimals, unless you are doing something on mathematics or computer science or something like that, they like to use 10 or 15 decimals. In general, in engineering, 1 or 2 decimals is probably more than enough. Yeah, don't go over the top when it comes to accuracy of your figures. Tend to use number format like this one instead of engineering, because again, our brains take a bit longer to process these numbers, yeah? Unless it's something very specific you are looking at, try to favor these sort of numbers. Discussion, why it's important, and what's the significance of that. Check how your results link to your original research question, yeah? The research story, you have to see it like a circle. Yeah, you have at the beginning the research question with a set of aims, or one aim and several objectives. And then you move on to the introduction, methodology, results and discussion. And then once you get to that point, you have to start thinking how you're going to answer the original questions you had at the beginning. Yeah? Yeah, you can also mention the limitations. Importantly, don't speculate too much, and don't introduce anything new towards the end of your article. Yeah, don't bring out new ideas or new subjects, because again, if something sprawls out of the blue, and in my head, I'm reading with a nice flow of the research story, and something comes up, I think, I mean, if it's coming out of the blue, what is this doing here? Yeah, so maybe not rejection, but at least minor, major corrections to get rid of all that part there. Yeah, don't abuse qualitative words. Some examples, lots, extremely, enormous, rapidly, and so on. Personally, I don't like those ones. And if you're going to use higher, lower, okay, how much? How much higher? 1%? 200%? Yeah, so tell us how much so that we can quantify quickly the relevance of that. There are some exceptions. If you mention already a figure, 60% for instance, and then you say the effect is minor, even when it's not quantitative, because you already have this value here, you can more or less infer, okay, if it's minor, it should be probably 5%, something like that. That's okay, that's fine. Yeah, if you're in doubt, you can always check with someone else. Many journals, they have limitations in the number of figures and tables. Proofread. You can always identify very quickly an article that has not been proofread. Yeah? Yeah, okay. The conclusions is basically wrapping up everything. You have to present specific conclusions. I usually use bullet points for my articles. And again, try to answer that research question you had at the beginning, yeah? If you have 3 objectives, I would expect to see 3 bullet points in the conclusions, yeah? Each of them essentially answering each of the objectives. You can always indicate how to extend the study, limitations, and even speculate a bit, but not too much, on how we can use the results later on for the future. Okay, this is not moving. Can someone help me pressing the button or something? Is it the battery? Oh, sorry. Yeah, just as a general, don't summarize again the whole article in the conclusions. Don't list trivial results, no speculation. Especially avoid words like this, may, might, possibly, perhaps, and especially don't copy-paste the abstract into the conclusions, yeah? I think this is the last bit. The referencing, again, make sure the references are correct, yeah? if the name of my supervisor is wrongly spelled, in my head, yes. Even worse if my surname is misspelled. It's rejection for sure. But yeah, so keep an eye on that. Yeah, try to nail your references the first time. It's not our job or the reviewer's job to correct those ones. Formatting in general of the manuscript, try to use at least a font 11. Again, our eyes may not be as good as they used to be, so very little font doesn't help. Number the lines of your manuscript. Even if the journal doesn't ask you to do it, do it. Yeah, please, because that's going to help us do the peer review much faster. Now, in general, it's very difficult now to find reviewers for manuscripts that are longer than this. Maybe if it's a review article, you can probably go to around 13,000 words. But even with that, we're finding very difficult to find reviewers that are willing to spend more than this amount of words checking your manuscript. Yeah? It's getting more complicated. Again, abbreviations and acronyms, have to be careful with that. Final bit is why we accept it. Why would I accept your article? You have a good vision of an important problem. It's useful to make decisions. Yeah? If there is a piece of information that is useful for someone else, I'm more likely to accept the article. If you develop new frameworks or theories, that's also good. If you postulate or you open the field to new questions, new fields of research, that's also something publishable. The methodology, that's something you have to nail. Yeah? You always have to produce science with good methodology, and that's pretty much related also to the rigorosity of the methods. Most importantly, I love manuscripts that have a good research story, yeah? Like a novel. You have to set the scene, yeah? Then you say how the couple fell in love, how they broke, and how they came back together, all the hate and love relationship. What you call it? Cinta dan benci, yeah? Did I get it right, more or less? So there is actually a song I like called but yeah, research stories. Yeah, try to produce nice research stories. Ideally, to go to Q1, you need all that, but as long as you have 5 or 6 of those points, that should be enough to get you into a Q1. So this is my final slide. Yeah. So for Q1, again, it doesn't have to be a rocket science or something very advanced. Most important thing is the quality. Yeah. Novelty, relevance, and impact. As long as they are there, at least your article should make it to the peer review stage. Now we have to be realistic. I know not all of my articles are going to be Q1, so sometimes we have to sacrifice and go for Q2 or Q3. Try to produce your manuscript in a proper way from the very start. Always expect revisions, because that's how we are. And then follow this, yeah? Write, review, proofread. Personally, what I do is I usually check the articles with my students. I leave it there for a few weeks. Then I ask the student to come back with fresh eyes to revise the article. And then I come again probably 2 months afterwards to check again what we wrote and make changes. And it's sometimes we do like 15, 16 revisions until we get it. And that can take us anything between 6 months up to 1 year. Yeah? Good quality takes, good research takes time. And always take opinions, criticism, and even rejections positively. Yeah? Okay, thank you very much. Terima kasih banyak. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. I learned a lot also from what you presented. Yeah, so many guidelines. I mean, so many
Pieces of advice.
yeah, and also tips. Yeah, many tips. Do and don't and preparing your article. But I think most do is most important, but the don'ts are also things that need to be considered. Yeah. So if you have any questions, we still have 30 minutes for discussion actually, and yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm conscious I didn't discuss something, which is the use of chatbots and AI in publication.
Yes.
So that's something we can discuss now if you want, because that's a hot issue at the moment, as for us as editors, reviewers, and also obviously for the editorials. Yeah. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah, oh, that happens to me when I review students' thesis. I found long paragraph, etc. Very good written, but then it's not suspiciously
good.
suspiciously good. And I checked with AI, it comes from AI. So as a teacher, I don't like that actually. Yeah. But wait, we would like to have discussions, and also we have our participants on online ya.
Yes.
Bapak Ibu yang di Zoom, if you want to ask questions, also please raise your hand and or write on the chat box ya. So these are our participants online also. Yeah. So we have 30 minutes for discussions, questions. Yeah, please, your name and where you come from. I mean, what department?
Okay, good afternoon, Dr. Reyes Garcia. Let me introduce myself. My name is Noval Akmal Rifan. I am from the accounting study program. Before I ask you a question, I must tell you that my English are still bad, so I'm sorry if there are any wrong or mistake. So the question is...
I'm still learning English as well, so... Anyway.
In your opinion, what are the specific tips for writing clear, concise, and ambiguity-free academic English, especially for non-native writer? Because I am interested in creating an international journey, but I still have a lot of learn. So that's all. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you for the question.
You answer directly, or we get more questions?
No, I think I'll answer that one
Yes.
first, and then because I'm going to forget. I think from my main idea with the presentation was to essentially show that in reality there is no secret or as we call it in English, silver bullet to essentially write an article. The way I see it personally, I think writing an article is a sort of art. And like any art, you only do it by practice. I mean, if you see, I don't know if you had a chance to go to Italy, or when you see the paintings, the initial paintings of many of the famous painters, the Italian painters, they were really bad. But eventually they got better until they got to the Sixtine Chapel, which is probably one of the best expressions of the Rinascimento period. It takes time. Now, like any art, you can only develop it by doing it. And sometimes the process of doing it is painful. But nobody else is going to do it for you. So the secret is actually within yourself and trying to produce those articles that are of good quality. I mentioned it several times. Think of your article as a novel, as a K-drama. For instance, I watch K-dramas. So, and actually, I sometimes I analyze how they do it. And if you see it, it's not much different to research. At the beginning, they always set the scene. Who is who? Who's talking to? Who's fighting with who? Who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy? Then you have all the development, the hate and love. That's the methodology, how they get on with it. And then towards the end, how things evolve, yeah? Research, the results and discussion. And at the end, the conclusions, yeah? Happily ever after, married. So think of your research as a story. Yeah, how can I write my research in an easy way for someone who's not me to understand what I did, yeah, why it's important, why it's new, why it's relevant, what's the impact of this, how can somebody else use my results. So in a sense, you have to be a bit critical of your own work, like an artist. Yeah, I don't like the painting. I have another go. Yeah, the Mona Lisa. I think it had like 6 or 7 versions of the Mona Lisa until they got it right because they didn't like it. So it's pretty much the same. It's a work. It's work. Yeah, it's not magic. So I don't know if that helps somehow, but yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, all.
Afternoon.
My name is Diana Kristiani Malau. I am from Psychology Faculty. So thank you very much for your explanation. And from your explanation, I have learned many things, especially how to write. But I have some question. The first, from your presentation, you told that from the Simago database, Indonesia has a lot of outputs but low of citation. So why is it so? It's the first question. And the second, a good article in a bad journal looks bad. So it's terrible for me because it's good article, but because published in bad article, it's become bad article. So how we know that the journal that we want to publish our article is good or bad? And the third, in our country, from bachelor, magister, and even for the PhD program, we have to publish an article. And it's like a regulation in national accredited or international from Q1 or Q2 and so on. But when we send our article, it takes long times to review. We know, is it reject or accept? If you said as you reviewers, you have suffering hard. If you will reject the article, how about us?
Yes.
Of course, we more suffering.
You would cry,
And
you would
it's
cry for
terrible and horrible, especially if it is regulation for our university.
Yeah.
So why the process is too long? Would you talk to us? Thank
yeah,
you.
absolutely. Thanks to you. Thank you for the questions. Yeah, no hati. Okay, so the first question related to the H index, to me it was surprising as well, because I checked those figures 2 days ago, and that's what I realized. My first take is that it's potentially due to the low relevance and the impact of the research, because otherwise I cannot explain how countries that have less production have higher H indexes. It doesn't make sense in my head. So the only explanation is that there is no sufficient impact, maybe combined with the fact that you have reduced collaborations internationally. As I mentioned before, if my friends in Thailand or Malaysia or Vietnam put my name in one of their articles, I'm going to cite it. So that increases the H index. So I think it's a bit of a problem related to the way you collaborate. Potentially, I don't know. I think we need to. There's probably something we can do research on to see what's happening there. Now, the second question was on the. What was it? Sorry, I forgot.
A good article.
A good article. How you select it? I mean, there are different ways. The easiest one is to ask someone around. You can ask your supervisor or somebody who's experienced in the field to tell you which are the top journals in the field. You can always go to the rankings. Elsevier, Scopus, they have their own rankings, and they tell you the percentile. They obviously rank the journals in 1 to whatever it is, number of hundreds, and they tell you this is 900% quality, this is 78. So they give you more. From there, you can get the quartiles and see which are the top journals in the whatever area you are doing research on. The other one is your references in the article itself. Clearly, if you have lots of references from a similar, from the same journal, that's an indication that the journal is good and has lots of outputs that are relevant for your research. So that you have at least three ways to do it. The rankings, personally, sometimes I'm a bit, because the rankings are very relative. Yeah, the rankings are very relative, and many times journals and editorials find ways to tweak the rankings by accepting articles in AI, for instance, because that's a hot topic that's going to increase the impact factor of your article, of your journal very quickly. But in general, over the years, you can more or less know with experience and older researchers like myself or Professor Krishna, you know which journals are good in your area. Yeah. So if your supervisor or some of your elder colleagues, they can more or less guide you on that. And then the last one, the last one is a bit tricky. Because if you have to publish, do you have like a deadline that you have to publish before getting your master's or your PhD? Do you need to submit and get the article out? You have to, before you get your diploma. Yeah. It shouldn't be like that, because it's true. More and more, many of the journals are overwhelmed. Just to give you an idea, for construction and building materials, there is a manuscript submitted every 15 minutes. 15 minutes. Every 15 minutes. So in my presentation, roughly 8 manuscripts went to construction and building materials. Somebody has to look at them. The editors have to look at them. So the amount of work we have to do is massive. And I mentioned before, yeah, my job is 3 jobs: admin, teaching, research. Plus my wife, plus my 2 girls, plus my badminton and everything. Exactly. So if I get the email, and then I get 50 emails a day, roughly, on average, it's very difficult to catch up with them. I only do it over the weekends. So it takes me at least 5 days to check the initial email. Now, if the article is badly written, if there is no novelty, no relevance, and no impact, you will hear from me very, very quickly, because I'm going to reject it on the same day, unless it has to go through another process, because sometimes somebody else checks your decision. But if it's good, it will go to peer review. I have to select the reviewers. Yeah. If I do it on the day, which is very unlikely, because sometimes it takes me a few days to actually find the reviewers, I usually choose 5, hoping that 2 of them will accept. Many times, none of them accept. And I give them 2 weeks to decide whether they want to review or not. Sometimes it takes longer. So I need to chase them after, in theory, 2 weeks. In reality, it's 1 month, because I don't have time. I have other things to do. So I chase them again. Sometimes they decline. So I need to go to the system and again look for new reviewers. And the whole process is again another month. So you're talking of, if you can't find reviewers in the first round, it's at least 2 months to find the reviewers. And then they have roughly a month to do the peer review. So that tells you it's roughly 3 months if everything is okay and your article made it to the peer review. Now the other problem is finding reviewers for longer articles. That's why I usually try to tell them, don't produce very long articles, more than 10,000 words. Because we see, I mean, if I go and they send me a paper to review, I check weekly, 56 pages. That's the last one. I don't have the time. It's almost like a master's dissertation. It would take me a full day of work. So it's 8 to 10 hours roughly to do it properly. I don't have the time. So I decline. I cannot review it. So again, the editor has to look for someone else who's happy to review 56 pages of text. So it's getting very, very difficult these days because the number of submissions is very high. Everyone wants to publish. You saw the figures coming from Indonesia, the exponential increase in submissions. All the Asian countries is the same. All the ones I checked, exponential increase in the number of submissions. We are only a few editors in every journal. Even when you try to get more editors, still we're only a few. We cannot handle the thousands of submissions we get these days. So that essentially delays everything. Personally, if you want my opinion, I think you have to break the link because that's the reality. It's taking much longer time. Even my articles, when I submit them, it takes months, 6 months these days. The last one, 6 months. And that's still good. Sometimes a full year in some of the journals. But that's the reality. And that's why the emphasis on you have to make the life of the editor and the reviewer as simple as possible. Yeah, to produce good articles from the very beginning, and that's going to help the process. Again, if I go to the manuscript, I'm reading your manuscript, it's interesting, it's engaging, oh, this is good stuff. Okay, let me finish. If it's like a novel, if it's like a K-drama, I'm going to read it. I want to finish. I want to see the final episode, yeah, or to see if they get married or not. I want to get to the conclusions. So if an article is good, I finish it in one day, essentially. And that's it, out it goes. Now, if it's badly written, I need to go again to that article and tomorrow, mañana, as we say in Spanish, and tomorrow may not ever come. Yeah. So yeah, I think you have to break that point that link between those two. Does it help? Everything? Yeah. Okay. Good.
Still, we have one other. Yeah, you can. You can say your question. By the way, our work as reviewer can be easy and can be not very easy. If I found a very good article, it is easy to review, maybe one day enough. On the other side, if we have very bad article, also one day is enough. In between, that is the most time taking. Yeah.
If it's badly written, if the article is badly written, you just reject it without anything else. If there is no research question, there is no novelty, anything, that actually makes my life very easy because I just tell the editor, look, this is not publishable, and that's it. And I finish also in one day. But the ones in between, those are the tricky ones. That there is actually something potentially good, but then you need to ask for major revisions or minor revisions, and that takes time. Writing the feedback takes time.
All right. Thank you, Prof. My name is Yuli, and I'm currently taking the doctorate in psychology. Again, as you see, I think so many people coming to research right now because the easiness of using the support from the AI, and you see a lot of whether we in our culture English is not our primary. Suddenly the product of research is getting more and more because of the help. But that's also can be the challenge that authenticity, whether this is our writing or whether it is our product, is become more challenged because if it become a culture, it will be it's kind of diluted our talent to be kind of more original in our research. What's your suggestion for us, especially for young generation taking the undergrad, then getting the master and PhD, not to depend solely to the AI, and because we can start not from the research base, but only for doing assignment, we already depend on AI, and how we continue that toward the research. The second one is you said about the 4-star research in the UK, and you say that's part of the global kind of maybe best practice. Would should we do kind of international topic to be a 4-star research, or can we do kind of like a national topic but impactful, like for many researcher, either national or regional or globally, to be kind of like let's say considered as a 4-star research in the UK, because I think like let's say Indonesia with 300 million, almost 300 million population, any research that impact those 300 is still like a lot compared to, let's say, in Japan or in different countries. Last one, I think like you said that don't put any new topic at the end of the research, but we also expect that this is my journal or this is my research is not perfect. Somebody needs to continue my research.
Yeah.
What will be the best way to say that, hey, it's not perfect, please continue my research, but not to drop any new topic. Maybe you can do this, but
Okay, so
Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Let me try to remember the 3 questions. I'm already tired. So the first one with the AI, personally, and I think that's the position within many of the editorial panels in the different journals I've seen around, we are not against the use of AI in, I need to be careful, in manuscripts. Now, usually what we want to know is whether you use the AI in the manuscript or not, somewhere in the manuscript. As long as you use the AI or the chatbot to correct something you wrote, that's fine. So polishing up your English is okay. Because I'm not a native speaker. Nobody is. I don't think anyone is a native speaker here. Maybe someone. But, so sometimes you have to take and use the tools you have at hand. So using it to support how you tell your story, to simplify the English maybe, because sometimes that's the issue with me. I use very long, complicated words. That's okay. So in that sense, it's fine. The main problem comes when you want the AI to take the place of an author and a writer. So if you actually ask them to write a full paragraph, that's the issue. When the ideas and everything in the paragraph are not coming from a human author. Even worse if you are using it to generate images or data or so on. So that's, it's a very gray area at the moment. We have the same issues when I'm reviewing assignments in my teaching. They actually gave us training 3 years ago to detect AI. Yeah, and as Pakrishna said, if it looks too good from a first year student, how can they write with such a logic sequence? You see, some of them in the first year, some of them are using already the IMRAD style. How? Unless you actually put your back into it and you work and you do proper research, then yes, you would understand how to do it. But from our first year, I would expect to see issues, because otherwise, how can you actually correct them and give them feedback? They cannot really improve in that sense. So I would say it's a tool that we have to use, but not abuse. Yeah, so use it in a clever way. So that's on the one hand. Now, on the other hand, obviously these language models, you are training them. So you have to be careful, because if your idea is really new, yes, and there is a possibility for patent, especially those doing medicine or I don't know, biological sciences. If it's something really that can take you well above the rest of the people, and you put it on the chatbot, you're actually giving away your idea already. That's the thing. If somebody else comes after you to check, what's going on in this particular area of research? Oh, I found it. Patent somewhere else in China or so. Yeah? So it's a double-edged sword. At Warwick, for example, if you want to get a patent, the first thing they ask you to do is not to go to any chatbots, because otherwise you're giving away already your information and you cannot do it. So you have to be careful. Use it, but not abuse it. Yeah, so you use it as a tool. It's like a hammer. With a hammer, you can do beautiful things, or you can kill yourself or kill someone else. Yeah. So that would be my opinion on AI. The second one was 4-star research. The 4-star research, that's mainly applicable to the UK. And my main idea there was to show you more or less how, at least editors in the UK, they tend to see research and articles, because obviously we use the same brain and the same pair of eyes to assess research proposals, articles, and so on. I'm not saying it's perfect, and of course everything is perfectible in this world. It's just a guideline to tell you more or less where the expectation is in terms of where we want to see the articles. Clearly, not all our research is going to be 4-star. Even my own research, not all of them is 4-star. But the idea is you have to try and get there, and as you do it, then your articles will be more easily publishable. And the last one was about the new topic at the end. Yeah, it really depends on the area. It depends on the limitations of your specific study, on the methodology, and so on. I usually leave if you see my articles, at the end I have that little paragraph, well, little, maybe 10 lines or 15, where I state clearly the limitations, then what's the future research? This is missing, this is missing, this is missing, and so on. And that's sometimes when I can be a bit speculative and say, actually, you know what, if you do this, my results can help solve the hunger in the whole world in 2 years' time, or whatever it is. So yes, you can be speculative and bring in some new topics, but I would say only towards the end of the article, when you are sort of wrapping up and stating clearly the limitations of your study. Yeah, I don't know. Does it help? Yeah. Thank you.
Yes, actually, we have only 5 minutes. Are you going to discuss a little bit on the example of the?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to show, I started checking.
It's already on the.
Oh, is it?
Bisa diminta untuk anu nggak?
The one that was rejected.
Yes.
Okay, so let's see. Because I was given something I asked is to get an article or something, a manuscript that was recently rejected, just to see why it was rejected.
Yeah, I think that will be interesting.
Yeah,
to see
because
why.
now you can help me.
Yeah,
based on what you learned, we can go together through the abstract only. Because based on the abstract, I would have rejected it as well, just by reading the abstract. Yeah, and I'll tell you why. But let's work together to see if we can see why I would have rejected it.
Bu Arnelisa, apakah ikut di Zoom, Bu?
Just check if she's okay to show.
Ya. Bu, ini papernya Ibu, ya, meskipun namanya sudah dihilangkan, just because this paper is actually rejected because I got from Ibu Arnel, and this is good for discussion.
Yeah, it's a good case study, let's say, to start, because again, I got this one just a few days ago, and literally as I was coming in the whoosh on the train, I just checked quickly. Yeah. So it took me 5 minutes to go through the abstract. I actually went already to the methodology. Okay, so forget about the title for a second, but it's basically related to techniques and autism. No, it's not my area of expertise, clearly. Yeah, so this is social science, education, and so on. Now I already gave you a few highlights there, because to me those are the interesting bits. The author here, Bu Annalisa, I can see she's actually trying to well, she or the team, I don't know, it's probably a team, they are trying to define the problem here at the beginning. So they start with the objective, which I would think it's rather the aim, not an objective, because you only have one aim and then several objectives. I would say that's probably something else, but anyway. Difficulty pronouncing words or sentences in individuals with autism. So ASD, so that's basically fine, because they are defining this acronym. Hinders verbal communication. So that sort of paving the way, yeah, giving the global idea of what's going on. However, until now, there has been, yeah, thank you. There has been no systematic, structured, measurable, effective, and efficient teaching system to overcome this problem. Can you see the problem here? The first sentence?
We cannot find the problem.
Well, exactly.
It says this problem, but no problem.
Exactly. It goes very quickly to say this problem. Now, I went back quickly because I thought to myself, maybe I missed it. And then I read again, difficulty pronouncing words or sentences individual. Okay. Hinders verbal communication. Fine. But that's a general statement. It's not a problem. Yeah? What's the problem? As an editor, I don't know. But they are already giving me some of the solution. And they are telling me this problem is there. So the problem is missing. Yeah? So that would be probably my first, I don't know if Boo Annalisa is listening, but my first criticism here would be there is no problem to solve yet. The actual scientific challenge or the actual research question the manuscript is trying to address is not there. Yeah, so that's actually missing. I know autism generates issues. Okay, that's fine. They have issues communication, also in general behavior. But that's not the problem. That's actually the effect of the autism itself. Yeah. So the research problem has to be defined there. Now, later on, as I went through the abstract, I realized it's actually the techniques that address this verbal communication. So the problem or the scientific challenge is potentially related to the limitations and the use of the techniques to solve verbal communication. Yeah, so the approach has to change in that sense to define clearly what the problem is. Yeah, because as it is now, there is no problem to solve. Now, second bit here, I highlighted this. There has been essentially no research. Okay, but why?
There may be some research that we don't know, so
maybe, exactly. If there is some research, we need to know. So another sentence there may be saying, I don't know, current techniques or current approaches to address verbal communication are limited because X, Y, and Z. Yeah. So saying clearly why there is no research. Maybe there shouldn't be research. Yeah. Again, as an editor, my hattie goes away. Yeah. I need to decide quickly whether to send this to peer review or not. Yeah. So if there is no research, okay, but why? Tell me why. Tell me why there is no research. Now, this list here, systematic, structured, measurable, effective, and efficient. We're basically talking about 5 items that are measurable. Yeah? Because I can measure how systematic, if a framework is systematic, I can actually measure that, either qualitatively or quantitatively. When I got to the end of the abstract, I was expecting to tell me the abstract how much systematic, structured, measurable, and effective and efficient, whatever they were proposing is. 20% more effective?
50% more efficient, but then there is nothing later on. So you're opening several questions that don't have answers later on, yeah, in the abstract itself. Okay, so we've already discussed the problem. Then it's okay. This one goes. It's okay. It goes for the proposal. Basically, what they are trying to propose. That's fine. I think my only criticism here is that it says ABA. I have no idea what ABA is. Later on, I found in the keywords. Actually, the definition is there, but anyway. So I highlighted that because clearly, every time, especially in the abstract, if you are defining an acronym, you have to tell the readers and the editors basically what you mean. So they propose the technique, description of the methodology. That's fine. That's in general fine because I think there is just enough information there for the editors to know more or less what's happening. They actually something positive. They narrow down the research here in the middle. So if you think of the INRAD paragraph, so they start general, good. So they go to the narrow bit of the methodology. Yeah, that's also good. That's positive. That's what I would expect to see in an abstract as an editor. So they narrow it down to children, and then in the methodology, they go about describing that. Now, the issue I found is when they start describing the methodology, they obviously this is dealing with humans, so there are a lot of ethical implications. The sample is this size.
3.
Yes. What do you think of that? Yes, too small. So the sample is very small. As an editor, I have to think of the impact. Yeah. Three children as good as they could be, or as bad as their autism may be, is not going to get many citations. Yeah. So yes, because the scope of the research, which is essentially based on the methodology, is too narrow. Yeah, and therefore that it's not going to bring hits or citations to my journal. So to me, I think Boo, she's listening. I think that's probably one of the main issues. This one, it's easy to fix. You can always redefine your research problem. That's not a big problem. This one you can work. But I think this is the main reason why the editor rejected this particular manuscript, because the sample is too small. And if you want to extrapolate those results, whether it's engineering or social sciences, there is no way you can extrapolate the results easily. Yeah. That's the age, that's fine. There is a bit of the methodology. Then the technique. There is a very quick change, because then at the beginning they refer to a teaching system. Do you remember what I mentioned about the terminology and using the words and not changing, not introducing new things? Okay. So first, initially, they refer to a teaching system, but then all of a sudden they change to a technique. Yeah. Again, in my head, if you change the terms, I don't know if you're actually talking about the same teaching system or something else. Yeah. So those changes, even within the abstract, they don't help, because as an editor, I have to quickly decide whether to send it out or not. And then the other issue, the results. The smart shaping technique development produced 3 scenarios, A, B, and C. Implementation of the 3 subjects show that all subjects successful in mastering the ability. So there is a jump from defining 3 scenarios. What do you think of the scenarios?
Nothing.
No, exactly. There is nothing. How can we assess what are those three scenarios, A, B, C? A, B, C doesn't tell me anything except as a song. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Yeah, like the children. So those three scenarios, they need to be described here at least briefly. Yeah, what scenario A, what scenario B, what scenario C? Because otherwise, the methodology is incomplete. I don't know what the scenarios are. And then the three subjects, which is obviously referring to the children. That's my guess. Subject to the succeed in mastering. We're successful at mastering. They basically can imitate the sounds. Okay. Successful in mastering. What do you think? How can we measure success? Because even I know enough social sciences that you can actually measure with a Likert scale, or I mean, there are ways to measure questionnaires. There is nothing. Oh, no. Can we go back to the other one, please? Oh, where are we? Oh no, you just scroll up. Yeah. So it says here between 3.5 to 6 days. That's fine. But then, remember you mentioned before systematic, structural, measurable, effective, and efficient. And all we're referring here is successful in mastering without really giving anything we can touch. Yeah? How effective? 10%? 20%? Well, the feedback was better. It increased from 3 to 4.5. Yeah, so we need something to touch to actually be able to make a quick decision. Okay, so conclusions. Smart shaping technique is effective. Okay, let's scroll down. Effective if somehow going back, that's positive. It's going back to the original, the second sentence. That's okay. But again, it doesn't say how effective and efficient it was. And then this one is good, the contribution. Yeah, so it's trying to show the relevance and the potential impact of the research. Then I went for the keywords. This is where I realized actually what is it? ABA is applied behavior analysis. Yeah, so that should be actually in the abstract. So I didn't know what it was until I went to the keywords. And then it's repeated. It's twice in the keywords. If we go back to the keywords, please. So this one here is the same as this one. Yeah? So again, as an editor, if I see that, my first thinking is, oh, they didn't check it. They didn't proofread the manuscript. Why should I send it to peer review? Yeah? So again, all those things, even when it's not our area, obviously I'm not a social science, I can see why it was rejected. Yeah? And then, I don't know, I think I did a bit of work, but I don't even have the time, but I mean, if Bush wants to discuss it more in detail, I already put some comments for her later on, so she can work on that. But now you can see, yeah, more or less, how to start your approach. And again, keep in mind, the first thing we check is the abstract. Yeah, so we have to make a decision whether to reject it or send it to peer review.
Okay, very interesting, Dr. Reyes, to showing an example why submittal of a manuscript is rejected in the first place. Yeah, because abstract is very important. Yeah, and decision is made quickly based on the abstract. So please be careful when you prepare the abstract. And I think Reyes also mentioned that abstract can be done after the whole article is prepared.
Actually, that's true, but I forgot to mention, usually when I work on an article, the last thing I write is the abstracts and the title. Those are the last things I write. So I know that it's only when I can see the research from above, the whole research story, then I can write the abstract. Because sometimes I don't even put all the results in the abstract. I only put the results that answer the main aim of the, or that are basically answering that research question, the scientific challenge of the research. The rest can wait for later. I don't need to put everything in the abstract. So that's a very good point, yeah. So leave the abstract at the end, yeah, and the title.
Well, we already passed our allocated time.
I know, but we're enjoying ourselves.
For 30, but as we enjoyed the explanation, that is fine with us, I think. We want more discussion.
Yes, well, I'm happy to hang around, and if you have specific questions, just come to me, yeah? Don't be shy, please.
Okay, then let's give a big applause for Dr. Reyes. Thank you very much, and with this we can end this discussions, but you can still discuss with Dr. Reyes. I mean, you can write email to Dr. Reyes. And, did you put your email?
Yeah, I think my email is somewhere in the presentation. I think I can't remember if at the end.
There is a question actually if they can have your PowerPoint.
Can we show the slides, please, guys, somewhere?
Tolong PPT, back PPT.
I think the last slide has my email.
Slide terakhir.
And the first one as well. Well, hopefully you've found the presentation useful. I wish I knew this when I was sitting there, like you. It takes time to get the hang of it, and you know.
25 years.
25, yeah. And yeah, because many times you don't know this until you are basically on the other end, and you think of what's happening to my research. I think 6 months and nothing happens. There are things actually happening.
Yang terakhir, last slides. Thank you slide.
Oh, the first.
This is the email. You can, I think, email welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But even now, I'm happy to hang around for another half an hour or 40 minutes,
no
whatever
problem.
it is.
Yeah. If you want to discuss in personal,
yes,
Dr. Reyes.
I can check your abstract in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Basically kill it.
Yeah. Okay, then I will return this to the organizer, and after this, maybe you can ask also directly questions. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Reyes Garcia, for answering all of questions, and we deeply appreciate the knowledge and experience you have shared with us today. Please return to your seat before. Thank you. We kindly invite for closing speech from Dean of Faculty of Engineering, University of Persada Indonesia, Y.A.I, Associate Prof. Dr. Insinyur Fitri Suryani, MT.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, everyone. First of all, let us pray to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala for His blessing and mercy that we can have a meeting today. Salawat and salam to our beloved Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great enthusiasm that I welcome you all attended in Auditorium Hajah Darlina and in Zoom meeting to today's guest lecture organized by collaboration between University Persada Indonesia, Y.A.I, and Warwick. University, United Kingdom. This event is a wonderful opportunity for us to learn from one of finest minds to turn reputable international journal. Today's lecture promises to provide valuable insight and perspective that will enrich our understand and spark new ideas. When I first started writing article to submit to reputable international journal, I also felt full of doubt and fear of failure. However, as I've learned from my journal and this lecture from Mr. Prof. Associate Reyes, Dr. Reyes, failure is not the end, but rather an opportunity to learn and grow. So if you are feeling doubtful today, remember that every small step you can take brings you closer to success. Finally, I would like to say thank you for all of your coming and participation, and special thanks for Associate Professor Dr. S. Garcia for visit our campus and sharing knowledge, and for Professor Krishna Pribadi for your kindness till we can deliver guest lecture today. Thank you very much. I say Alhamdulillah to closing this guest lecture, and we hope finish with a memorable and inspiring talk. Alhamdulillah. And may I say very thank you for all of faculty members, student, and steering committee and organizing committee that were organizing for this moment and for all us better collaboration in the. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Association Professor Dr. Insinyur Fitri Suryani MT. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know, to the end of today's guest lecture, we'd like to express our heartfelt gratitude to our esteemed speaker, Professor Krishna S. Pribadi and Associated Dr. Reyes Gracia, for sharing their invaluable knowledge and insight on sharpening our skills. His contribution have truly enriched our understanding of the challenge and opportunity to turn the reputable international journals. We also extend our deep appreciation to all of participants for your active engagement throughout the event. We hope that today's discussion have provided you with new perspective and ideas that will inspire your future endeavors. On behalf of the organizing committee, we thank you for your presence and participation. We look forward to seeing you at the future event. Please don't forget to join us for refreshment outside the hall. Thank you once again and have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you guys.